How could I have foreseen that this moment would shatter everything I knew? It was an ordinary day until I stepped into that room. As I caught sight of the door ajar, a chill ran through me, igniting a storm of unease. Turning back was an option, a whisper in the dark, but I chose to face it instead. But I didn't, for in that instant of revelation, I understood that everything had irrevocably changed. I was to blame, the instigator, the one who let it spiral out of control. David was trapped in the confines of his job. The house lay in eerie silence, yet whispers from above pierced the stillness. James sat alone in his room, the silence pressing down like a weight. Shadows danced on the walls, and a sense of foreboding filled the air. At first, it seemed insignificant. A fleeting instant, a young man adrift in the shadows of his own mind. But perhaps he craved a coffee. A fleeting exchange could change everything. With each step up the stairs, the echoes grew louder, pulling me deeper into the unknown. What awaited me in the shadows? My heart raced, and dread settled in my gut. As I approached his room, the door creaked open just a fraction, a chilling invitation into the unknown. I inhaled sharply, ready to shout his name, but then my gaze locked onto James. He sat on the edge of his bed, the laptop illuminating his face with an eerie glow, shadows dancing around him. His hands trembled, and for a moment, I believed he was captivated by something thrilling. Could it be an action-packed thriller? With each step I took, a chilling realization gripped me, draining the color from my face. In that instant, everything fell into place. I understood James's true intentions. A flicker on the screen seized my gaze, and a chill gripped my heart. This was unforeseen. This was the last thing I wanted to face. James's heart raced as he fumbled, desperately lowering the volume on his laptop, panic gripping him. But it was already too late. The moment had come and gone, leaving only echoes of what could have been. Our eyes locked, and his face flushed crimson, the shame in his gaze unmistakable. I'm sorry, he gasped, his gaze dropping, the weight of his words hanging in the air. I stood paralyzed, heart racing, breath caught in my throat. I stand on the edge, heart racing, breath caught in my throat. The shadows loom closer, whispering secrets of what lies ahead. Every moment stretches, heavy with anticipation. Will I take the leap, or will fear hold me back? Time hangs in the balance, and the choice is mine alone to make. Wait, the door? I began, lost in a fog of uncertainty, words slipping through my fingers like sand. A chilling warmth enveloped me, igniting a fire of uncertainty within. Embarrassment washed over me, but my thoughts spiraled, elusive and frantic. I rushed out of the room, my heart racing, each beat echoing in the silence. I pressed my hands to my face, struggling to catch my breath. What was that? James had turned 23, a number that echoed with unspoken weight. He had crossed the line into adulthood. At 47, I was a woman burdened by the weight of shame, each moment a haunting reminder of my past. Never had I faced such a moment, yet the weight of shame was all too familiar. I stood paralyzed in the dim hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. I raked my fingers through my hair, desperately seeking composure. James stood at the doorway, collar trembling under his touch, throat tight with unspoken words, eyes cast down, hiding the storm within. Sarah, can't breathe. I can't believe this is happening. I thought I had closed the door, he murmured, uncertainty lacing his words, yet sincerity flickered in his eyes. I turned my gaze, heart racing, desperate to escape the moment. Stop. Please, just... No. I owe you an apology. Years in the same house, yet never had we gazed at one another like this before. It was the first moment that crackled with an unspoken intensity between us. I must go downstairs and begin dinner, I murmured, my heart racing as I turned toward the stairs. My voice quaked, a fragile thread holding my composure in the storm of emotion. James stood in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. His gaze locked onto me, a silent puzzle forming in his mind, each moment thick with tension. Before everything changed between James and me, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the very end of this tale. I swear, the thrill is about to explode. That evening, silence hung heavy between us, unbroken and suffocating. Silence hangs heavy, a chasm between us. No words, no glances, not even the faintest attempt at connection. Yet in that silence, a haunting truth lingered. Nothing would ever return to what it once was. At dinner, we were at the same table, yet our eyes dared not meet. The silverware clinked, a haunting echo in the silence that enveloped us. We had to confront it, the silence was suffocating, and we both felt it closing in. But how could this be possible? Night fell, then dawn broke, and darkness returned once more. All appeared ordinary, yet beneath the surface, chaos brewed. The silence thickened, an unseen force tightening its grip on us. And then, one fateful afternoon, James took a seat beside me. The flicker of doubt in his eyes betrayed him, yet the longing to mend what was broken surged beneath the surface. "Sarah, what happened the other day haunts me. I can't shake this embarrassment. I never intended for it to end like this." I smiled, a fleeting gesture, and whispered, "Oh, James, you have no idea. I faced my share of humiliations." In that fleeting instant, I revealed fragments of my soul to him. His smile faltered, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face as he nodded, the weight of embarrassment lifting just a fraction. In that fleeting instant, the weight of our unspoken words hung in the air, ready to shatter the silence. Yet, in the shadows of my heart, the truth lingered. Time stood still. Just when it felt like hope was within reach, this conversation shattered the fragile distance we had left. A chill ran down my spine. I knew we were on the brink of something far more intense. James's laughter was a fleeting whisper, his eyes dropping to the table, shadows of uncertainty flickering in the silence. In an instant, his face contorted, a flicker of horror dawning as the weight of his words crashed down upon him. He rubbed the back of his neck, a moment of hesitation hanging in the air. Yet he was already in motion. He was trapped, with no escape, and had to press on. He inhaled sharply, his gaze drifting. "I've seen you," he whispered, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Inescapably, it unfolds again. "You had no idea, did you?" Electricity surged through me, igniting every nerve, every thought, every breath. I was alive, and yet, I was on the edge of something unimaginable. Time stood still. "What is happening?" I whispered, the crushing weight of his words suffocating me. James's face burned with intensity, yet he pressed on, determination etched in every line of his expression. I kept it hidden, swallowed by shame, yet it lingered in the shadows of my mind. It was a secret, one I held close, trembling with the weight of its truth. A thought that haunted me relentlessly. My heart raced, a frantic drumbeat in the silence. A strange warmth enveloped me, a foreign sensation whispering that everything had shifted. James's words broke the silence, forcing me to confront the reality between us. My gaze locked onto him. His gaze pierced through the silence, locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. We both felt it, the weight of unspoken truths hanging in the air, thick with tension. The air grew heavy, a palpable tension enveloping the space as everything changed in an instant. That day marked the beginning of an irreversible shift. Once, a chasm lay between us, unbridgeable and cold, the unseen divide that tore us away from each other. But now, it seemed that boundary had dissolved into nothingness. Unbeknownst to me, I found myself drawn deeper into the web of time spent with James. Fleeting moments, whispers that linger in the shadows. Yet, in truth, every moment only deepened the chasm between us. We sat in silence, the flickering screen casting shadows, lost in a world that felt both close and impossibly distant. Before, we maintained our distance, but now, the air crackles with unspoken tension. The weight of our conversation hung heavy, shifting the way we saw each other. A silent truth lingered between us, unspoken yet palpable. We sat in quiet contemplation, the moment heavy with unspoken thoughts. Our laughter danced together, yet beneath it all, a storm brewed within. I fought to push it from my mind. One night, sleep eluded me. The sheets twisted around me as I fought against the restless night. The turmoil within me clawed for release. One thought consumed me. James, the name echoes in the silence, heavy with unspoken truths. This had to end. I had to draw the line. I had to confront him. If there were feelings, I needed to end it now before it spiraled out of control. That thought pierced through the silence, propelling me out of bed. My heart raced wildly. Yet, my feet betrayed me, leading me straight to James's door. The door creaked ajar, a sliver of dim light spilling into the shadows of the room, hinting at secrets untold. As I crossed the threshold, he was there, waiting. He lay there, lost in the depths of slumber. In that instant, my gaze was elsewhere. They were captivated by another force. Something lurked in the shadows, waiting, breathing, poised to strike. The air thickened with tension, every heartbeat echoing like a ticking clock. What would happen next? The silence screamed for answers. Massive. My breath hitched. My body went rigid, caught in a fleeting moment of terror. His presence ignited a tempest within me. That was a moment I wasn't prepared for, and yet, I couldn't look away. Yet I held back. I stood frozen, grappling with the storm of emotions swirling within me. In an instant, I recoiled. A force stirred within me, relentless and demanding. Yet I buried it deep, choosing silence over truth. I stepped into my room, collapsed onto the bed, but everything had changed forever. Little did I know, that night was just the beginning of a tangled web of chaos. I fought against it, but the pull towards James was undeniable, consuming me with every heartbeat. As the days slipped away, the lines between reality and illusion faded into nothingness. The tension between us intensified, an unbreakable force drawing us closer. I never saw it coming, the moment everything spiraled out of control. But I felt it deep within me. There was no way back now. And then James walked through the door, forever changed. He staggered, lost in a haze. The door creaked ominously, objects tumbled to the floor, each sound a potential alarm that could rouse David from his slumber. Yet, I understood the struggle that haunted David each morning. I rushed from my room, heart pounding, and headed straight for James. Before I knew it, I was standing beside him, my clothes still a mess, the tension thick in the air. James's gaze drifted, a ghost of a smile flickering across his lips. "Sarah, do you even exist?" His words barely escaped his lips. His words, thick with drink, trembled with a haunting sincerity. "Not like this. You can't go up there. Silence is our only ally." Yet James's gaze pierced through me, unyielding. His smile was gentle, but his eyes held a weight that sent shivers down my spine. "Your beauty is undeniable. Have you always been like this? Or was it always there, hidden in plain sight?" For a heartbeat, I was paralyzed. But then I summoned every ounce of strength to regain my composure. "James, stop. This has to end now. Step into the kitchen. I have something brewing for you." I guided him into the kitchen, each step heavy with unspoken tension. I fought to bring him back to reality, but James's piercing gaze and his haunting words pulled at the threads of my own composure, threatening to unravel everything within me. James sank into the chair, tension crackling in the air as I busied myself with the coffee. Then, in an instant, the cup slipped from his grasp, shattering silence as it spilled across the counter. "James, you must be more careful," I hissed, panic surging as I scrambled to hide the chaos. Yet, James's smile lingered, a haunting whisper in the silence. "Have you always been this tender?" I rushed to tidy the kitchen, heart racing, as shadows loomed closer. We had to leave, the weight of the moment pressing down on us. David lay upstairs, the silence pressing down on him. With James in this fragile state, every sound felt like a betrayal, a risk too great to take. "All right, we're heading up. But be quiet," I warned, my voice barely a whisper as I slipped my arm around his, pulling him toward the stairs. As we entered his room, His every move trembled with uncertainty. He had to change, but the weight of his own despair held him captive, paralyzed in his own skin. For a moment, I hesitated, torn between fear and instinct. But then I saw him, desperate, fighting against the fabric. Without thinking, I rushed to his side, compelled to help. My fingers hovered over the buttons of his shirt, and James's breath hitched, then stilled. In that instant, the air crackled with unspoken tension. The silence deepened the tension. In that moment, clarity and confusion collided within me, a storm of certainty and doubt swirling together. James's gaze pierced through me, heavy with unspoken words. In that instant, everything shifted. An irreversible choice, a haunting memory etched forever. James paused, the fabric slipping through his fingers, a storm of uncertainty brewing within him. His hands dropped, and our gazes collided, a silent storm brewing between us. In that moment, I felt my breath hitch, racing against the silence. The silence was suffocating, each breath a struggle against the weight of the stillness. "I'm done with this game, Sarah," he declared, his voice trembling with a quiet intensity that hung in the air. My gaze locked onto him, unyielding and intense. My heart raced, each beat echoing in the silence. But what was James really trying to convey? "Are you?" he added, his voice thick with tension. "Was that all? Just one fleeting moment, and then nothing? Do you really never think about it? It haunts you, lurking in the shadows of your thoughts as you drift into darkness." A shiver coursed through me, forcing me to retreat slightly, yet my feet remained anchored to the ground. "James, this can't be happening," I whispered, my voice shaking with fear. James's smile flickered, a shadow lurking beneath its surface. "We crossed the line of right and wrong long ago, Sarah. Face the truth within you." He stepped forward, heart racing. And yet another. His breath brushed against my skin, a whisper of danger, so close I could almost taste it. His fingers brushed my cheek, a fleeting touch that sent shivers down my spine. My eyes were glued, trapped in a moment I wished to escape. In the depths of my soul, a chilling truth echoed, he was right. In that fleeting moment, James's lips brushed against mine, igniting a storm of emotions within me. The silence hangs heavy, the tension palpable. Every doubt slips away, leaving only haunting whispers behind. Because I had given in to James. But deep down, I had never wished for it. My hands shook violently, yet I remained rooted, unable to escape. In James's gaze, a fierce resolve burned, and I realized all secrets were laid bare. My heart raced as I swallowed hard, taking a deep breath. With trembling hands, I slowly let the straps of my clothing slip off my shoulders. "You're right, James. But at what cost?" I whispered, my voice a fragile wisp in the darkness. "It's time to end this charade." As the space vanished, I fell back onto the bed, heart racing. My heart raced, a thunderous drum echoing in the silence. Turning back was a luxury long lost. James's shadow loomed closer, heartbeats quickening in the silence. His gaze pierced through me, a fleeting moment that felt like an eternity. Then, a smile broke through the tension. "Fear not," he spoke, his voice a flicker of warmth in the chilling silence. "All seems perfect." I turned my gaze, a chill coursing through my veins. I couldn't face the truth, but deep down, I felt the weight of my waiting. This moment was everything. Yet, the words escaped me, unbidden, like a haunting whisper in the dark. "James, fear grips me," I whispered, my breath hitching in my throat. "Due to a handful of monumental events." "James, fear grips me," I whispered, my breath hitching. "Due to a handful of monumental events." James's smile cut through the air, a mask hiding his true feelings, as he brushed aside my words like they were nothing. Perhaps it was the alcohol that clouded his judgment. James's breath brushed against my ear, a whisper laced with urgency. "David mustn't wake up." I understood his words, the weight of silence pressing down on us. "How can I possibly?" A powerful force surged within me, threatening to erupt. I clamped my mouth shut, fighting the urge to scream. James's gaze pierced through me, his voice barely a whisper. I know. Sarah, everything hangs by a thread, and so do you. What secrets did he hold? He seemed to know, to truly see me. In that moment, I surrendered, shutting my eyes tight against the chaos around me. My hands gripped the sheets, trembling as my body convulsed in fear. I pressed my hands to my mouth, stifling the urge to scream. James stumbled through the night, lost in a haze, oblivious to the chaos around him. This was consuming me, tearing at my very core. The thrill of the event intertwined with the weight of it all, and the haunting sensation of an impending storm. James stumbled, his vision blurred, each breath a struggle, the weight of the night pressing down on him. James, you're turning red. We need to move now. James's voice trembled. Okay. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. He nodded, a heavy silence hanging in the air. Yet he pressed on, unwavering, endless, relentless, overwhelming. Another contraction hit, and in that moment nothing else mattered. I had become a stranger in my own skin. I shut my eyes, surrendering to the moment. Whatever you want, James, I whispered, my heart racing. Anything you desire. James surrendered completely, lost in the moment, as if the world around him had vanished. He released his grip, surrendering to the void. And that was everything. The fire within me raged, consuming everything in its path. I hurriedly placed James in his bed, tucking him in tightly. Then I turned the key in his bedroom door, sealing the darkness inside. I craved a moment of solitude, the water cascading down, hoping to wash away the weight of the world. My heart raced, uncertainty gripping me as I stood on the edge of the unknown. What just transpired? In the shower, thoughts swirled like storm clouds, each one heavier than the last. A tightness gripped my chest, a sense of dread creeping in. But as I emerged, clarity pierced through the fog of my thoughts. Strangely, a wave of calm washed over me. Anger eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand. My body was a calm sea, mirroring the stillness of my mind. I dressed in silence, approached my bed, and slipped into sleep, pretending nothing had transpired. Yet, beneath it all, lay a fleeting thrill, a surge of wild longing that could ignite everything. Yet, simplicity was a cruel illusion. What about this? This was about to spiral out of control. The darkness deepened. It was impossible. Something monumental unfolded. Everything escalates. In the end, David would uncover it all. The end is not in sight. Stay close. You won't want to miss what unfolds next. Activate alerts and share your thoughts. Keeps you on the edge, ready for the twists that lie ahead. Your support is everything. Without it, I am lost. Thank you for staying with me until now.